In the IoT era, with everything connected to a network, the need for over-the-air firmware updates for endpoint device components is growing. This video presents the secondary device OTA update solution using the AWS Cloud, tailored for low-end microcontrollers lacking direct internet connectivity. The secondary device OTA update solution involves two devices, a primary device with AWS Cloud connectivity and a secondary device that links to the primary device. The primary and secondary devices are connected via a communication protocol such as UART. The secondary device obtains updated firmware from the AWS Cloud through the primary device and proceeds to update its firmware. The RL78G22 OTA firmware update for secondary MCU application. Note from Renesas features the CKRX65N as the primary device and the RL78G22 fast prototyping board as the secondary device. This video demonstrates the step-by-step process for updating the firmware on the RL78G22 microcontroller of the secondary device, using the sample code provided in the application note. To begin, let's go through the hardware setup process. First, let me explain the CKRX65N setup. Connect the USB serial connector and the E2OB debugger connector to your PC. Attach the Ethernet connector to a LAN cable with internet access. Set jumper J16 to short circuit on the debug side. Next, let's cover the setup for the RL78G22 fast prototyping board. Connect the micro USB connector to your PC. Connect the HS3001 sensor board to the FS3000 sensor board. Join the PMOD2 connector on the RL78G22 fast prototyping board and the PMOD connector on the sensor board as shown. Set jumper J15 to the open position. Finally, connect the UART communication pin and ground pin between the CKRX65N and RL78G22 fast prototyping boards. Moving on, let's delve into the firmware setup. Download the sample code from the RL78G22 OTA firmware update for secondary MCU application note and import it into eSquare Studio. The sample code includes both bootloader and user program projects for the CKRX65N and RL78G22 fast prototyping board, respectively. First, generate the firmware for the CKRX65N using QE for OTA, the Cloud Development Assistance tool. Follow the QE for OTA procedure to create firmware embedded with AWS Cloud connection information and program it onto the board. After programming, set jumper J16 to short circuit on the run side. Next, create the initial firmware for the RL78G22 fast prototyping board. Build the bootloader and user program projects for the RL78G22 fast prototyping board, and generate the initial firmware Motorola S file, using the Renesas image generator provided in the application note. Use the Renesas Flash programmer to write the initial firmware to the RL78G22 fast prototyping board. Establish the environment for OTA updates within the AWS Cloud browser console. For the AWS Cloud configuration, use the certificate generated during the creation of the CKRX65N firmware with QE for OTA. You will find the certificate in the QE OTA co-designing folder within the bootloader project for the CKRX65N. For configuration procedures, please refer to the Preparation for AWS Cloud section of the application note. Generate the updated firmware for RL78G22 fast prototyping board and perform OTA update. You can change the type of sensor to be measured by editing the macro definition in the user program project for the RL78G22 fast prototyping board. Add more sensors to be measured, build the project, and generate the updated firmware using the Renesas image generator. Initiate an OTA update job within the AWS Cloud browser console. The OTA update will commence. Download the updated firmware for the RL78G22 fast prototyping board through the CKRX65N, and proceed with the firmware update. If the update is successful, the number of sensors being measured will increase, as shown on the AWS Cloud dashboard. For more information, please refer to the RL78G22 OTA firmware update for secondary MCU application note on the Renesas website. This concludes the introduction to the secondary device OTA update solution.